All right, y'all. I am so excited to have Kelly here today. Kelly, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I am excited to have you on here because I mentioned this, I think it was in our last quarterly planning day.
Mm-hmm.
And you just said something. I don't even honestly remember what you said, but you were just like, I think you were reflecting back on like the resistance that you initially had back over a year ago
Yeah.
when we did the first planning day, and just like how you've like come around to it and how it's like helped you to make progress in your business. So I want to talk about that
Yeah.
because I think it's really important. But first, just give us the quick background of who you are and about your business and what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm like ready to jump into the planning thing because but I'll slow myself down a little bit. So I'm Kelly Marshall. I have a bookkeeping and what I call financial wellness coaching business, and I work with very purpose-driven, conscious business owners. So I really have a belief that we need more hands in the people who are purpose driven. We need more money in their hands and we need them to feel good about it, because those are the ones that make a difference with their dollars. They're the people that are spending into their communities and really affecting change. So I'm on a mission to help them feel better about their finances, understand them more, and keep more money in their pockets. So very aligned, I feel like, with what you do. And yeah, I was so happy when I found you and found that alignment.
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously, my overall mission is similar. I think
Mhm.
that, more money in the hands of women. I don't necessarily have the same focus in the types of clients that I
Right.
serve. Which actually is really interesting to me, like just off the bat, because I have so many accountants and things in my audience.
Hmm.
And for a long time, I was like, I don't know how I best serve accountants, but I'm like, honestly, the best way that I can honestly serve more people and have an impact on other people is to help people like you
Hmm.
to learn how to have more like sustainable, profitable
Yeah.
businesses, because that just trickles down to your clients. And it's, to me, it's like I never care about any potential like competition,
Hmm.
because the offers that you have, the people that you serve, and the way that you do it is very different from mine.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think is important, is for us to really hone in on what specifically we do the best.
Yeah.
And so I just really love everything that you do.
Thank you. Same back to you.
So, okay, you found me back in February 2024,
Hmm.
if I remember correctly. And so it's been a year and 3 months
Yeah.
ish. Tell me, can you think back to February 2024 and like where were you? Like what was happening in your business?
Yeah. We had steadily grown. So my business started in 2018, and we had steadily grown through that time. But I had been stuck for a little bit at a certain revenue point that was truly working for me, as far as there was enough for me to pay myself, there was enough to have some set aside, the employees were taken care of, but I was stuck. Like, I couldn't grow at that point, and I needed a little something to get unstuck. And really what I came to you for was to work on my offers, like to work through that. There was something, and I think I like found you and bought it within days. Like, it was not like I didn't watch you for 6 months and then buy it. I was like ready and looking for it. And I felt like the Instagram algorithm gods sent you onto my page. Um,
Agreed.
but that was what we started with. And that we did that in the first session. We kind of unlocked, can I talk about that piece a little bit? Because I think that was
Yeah.
really a key part. So we unlocked this missing core product piece for me. And it was always there, but it was like again, there was some resistance to certain things, and there was ways of looking at it. It was a little bit of a different model than what was out there. And it was almost like I needed you to kind of mine for the gold. And I'll talk about that a little bit. And then almost like give me permission to kind of try it, if you will. And like kind of help me through like the scary parts of that. So the mining for gold, like, obviously I speak of purpose and conscious businesses, so I'm not unfamiliar with impact, but you just help slow me down and take me through like who works with you, why do they work with you. What I'm hearing is like you would very much like coach me through that and really help me find the part that I loved and the part that why people chose us. And we created an offer out of that. And so it felt really aligned. And then when it came to the scary part of like putting it out there and changing things with our existing clients and how to work through that process, you just kind of helped me through that piece. So that was all kind of right before or while we were working on the quarterly planning process. But I
Mhm.
really think that was the key piece that helped us get unstuck from that particular revenue point so that we were then able to go on and hire some really key team members so that we could get unstuck even further. And that was like that,
Yeah.
the butterfly effect, like was that first part of like mining that information and making that offer change and sticking with it and seeing it through because everything unlocked
Yeah.
after that.
So, if I remember correctly, you had something like 70 to 80 monthly clients
We were
at the time.
right around there, maybe just under 70. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I remember you being like, we have so many and it's working, but there's not necessarily a ton of excess. There wasn't the room to hire the team members
Mm-hmm.
that you've gone on to hire, which we can like talk about later,
Yep.
right? But the resistance was around, I remember you saying, I feel like I have to do CFO services because that's what everybody out there, if you're like in the accounting space, they're like, you need to do CFO services. You're like, I just don't resonate with that,
Yeah.
right? So I guess talk to me about why why did that not resonate, and then what did it take to figure out like what is it that does resonate for you to be able to provide more value
Yeah.
from the way that you do your offers now?
There's a, that answer should be more simple than it is. It's a little more complicated. What it was is what I wasn't feeling comfortable with was really being a CFO for multiple businesses. And most of my people didn't quite need that fractional CFO piece, even though I would say some people think of me in that space. It didn't line up with like what I was calling fractional CFO, didn't line up with what my clients needed. But also, it was like I was stuck on that as my path for growth. So I think I felt like I couldn't impact as many people as I wanted to because there were a lot of people in my space that were not going to be able to move up to that true CFO advisory piece, but still were ready for growth. And so we created
Mhm.
a way to help them as more of a group program with some. I've got Voxer access for office hours so that people that don't want to talk, there's certain things they don't want to talk about in group. They have access to me through the Voxer. And then we do some group money mindset coaching and some other fun things. So it was like the balance that I needed of like a core place for people to land where it was accessible to the people I cared about, but still profitable for us, and really met them where they were and what they needed. At the same time, because of that, probably I have popped in to have more people pop into the CFO advisory side. So there, that's kind of funny how that worked out. And I think you helped me see that path through. But I was also really connected to um, it had to be that for people to be at kind of the right price point. And we found our way through that a little bit too of, we have
Mhm.
attracted some different types of businesses and we're working with different people that are still very much our people, but they have more technical bookkeeping needs than maybe some of our other clients. So we are able to serve them at a different level. So it's kind of happened in a lot of different directions, but it came from me kind of just opening up to it and being willing to see it different. And then
Yeah.
we also kind of maintain the starting package. I call it the essentials, where before I was doing reports for everybody and doing certain things, and that was really where we were just tapped out. So they still get really great bookkeeping, which is important, like very important to me. They get access for questions and things, but I don't do a report for everybody because I couldn't do 80 reports a month. We still have a lot of clients. We're up to 80, 89 we counted today, but they're at different price levels and we've been able to bring in more team members to serve them. And I think, again, we're really able to hit the needs of our clients at those three offer levels in a way that we couldn't do
Mhm.
last year. So no wonder we were stuck. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you ended up increasing your prices a decent amount. I mean, I want to say it was probably double what you charged before,
It
right?
wasn't quite double. But it was a significant, but it wasn't just the prices. It was into a new offer. It was putting them in that core
Mhm.
offer. So
Yeah.
that was important to me too. to add that value.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, that's something I talk about. We don't raise prices just for the sake of
Mhm.
raising prices unless you are truly
Underpriced.
wildly
Right.
over delivering underpriced for what you're
Right.
delivering and it just makes sense. But I think for what you were delivering, it's not that you were underpriced. I think it's that it was very heavy on the lower ticket, high volume business model, which doesn't lend itself for somebody like you to be able to provide that higher level
Hmm.
of value and support for your
Yeah.
clients, right?
It didn't hit
And
that piece,
so,
that mining for gold, the part you found in that. We weren't really able to offer that. And there was
mhm,
like if we were trying to offer that at that price point, the energy exchange wouldn't have been equal. That would have been over delivering and under pricing.
yes.
Yeah.
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 So I remember it took you a little time
Hmm.
to make the changes. I want to say probably like 6 months,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
What was the process you had to go through to say, I'm going to, you know, not just revamp the offers, but get it rolled out, let go of some clients who aren't ideal so that we create space for more that are ideal? Like, what was that process like for
Hmm.
you?
I don't implement anything super fast, so that's part of it. I think if I remember right, I had to kind of create the like truly outline the structure, have a way I could communicate that and talk about it. Then I had to contact all the clients, and what I actually did was offer kind of a beta opportunity to test out that mid range, because again, that helped me feel good about what we were creating. It was great because I hadn't ever really created a group in that way, and there was some tech stuff, so it gave me a little permission to work through that and really create what I wanted it to be. So I did that for a while, and then while I was doing that, I was starting to sell it. So I was selling certain people into that, and then at the very end of it, we offered to anybody that was in the beta. They wanted to stay in it. I offered it to some other clients because I didn't offer the beta to everybody. We kind of rolled it out with the clients after testing it. It was like at the end of that 6 months. And some stayed and some didn't, and that was totally fine. Some didn't decide to stay, and then they went back to it. They're like, I miss that, and they came back to it. So that was the best testimony to me that there was value there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it took some time, but I think the biggest thing there is like I did start to sell it, and so I also had that kind of as a market research. I really could validate the pricing then too,
Hmm.
and it sold well, and I think that's what helped too. And then we got a few of those like CFO advisory clients in that time too, and that validated that as well. So those pieces really helped move us along. And I moved slowly, but it was okay. And we did it in a way that felt, I think, very comfortable for our clients and for us, and um, helped us execute it well.
I mean, I would say 6 months to sort of get it turned around is really not that slow.
Thank
And I
you.
feel like that's
Feels
something we
slow,
can
but you're
touch
right.
on. At the time, from my side, I remember we talked about it multiple times. And it was like, okay, I'm putting off communicating,
Yeah.
particularly some of the clients who you knew were not aligned,
Yeah.
right? So, because I know this is such a common thing for people, if you can put yourself back in your shoes from a year ago, like what was there anything that felt scary at the time that then once you did it and now you're sitting on the other side, you're like, this is not really a big deal and I'm not afraid of doing this anymore?
Yeah. I think well, there's a bigger thing that came out of the quarterly planning so remind me to go back to that thought because that was huge. What felt scary? I think I was scared about communicating to them. I didn't want to. Probably the hardest part of all of it was letting go of the clients that were happy with us, but just really weren't a fit anymore. That's still hard for me because I like keeping people happy. And so I think that was the hardest part, but it was also necessary in those cases. We took that very seriously, and there was just some that it wasn't a great long term fit for them either. So that was the scariest part. And I think part of all of the procrastination was that piece of it, because every step of it made it more and more real and kind of got us closer to the place where we had to let them go.
Sitting here today, would you have preferred to keep them?
No, I don't think so. I'm trying to think. I can't even on it. This is terrible. Like I can't even think of specific examples in this point. Like I know everybody we worked with. I haven't forgotten anybody, but I can't think of the specific people in regards to this. So that says a lot. And we've also gotten more boundaried in that area, which is challenging
Mhm.
for me too at times, but it's just a necessary part of the business, especially when it's impacting
Yeah.
team.
So I guess let's talk about the planning stuff because
Yeah.
I am thinking back. It would have been March
Yeah.
2024 would have been your first one. For everybody listening, one of the things that we do with our clients is on both for in the group and with our private clients too. We do this one on one or in the group, but we have a planning day. And what we do in the planning day is we take like 5 hours, we make a whole day of it. And we go through this like pretty specific framework that doesn't really change drastically quarter over quarter. It's just like holding the time and the space and the community aspect of it, I think is really great to sit. So in March 2024, we were mapping out what's going to happen in
Hmm.
Q2 2024. Like, what are the things you're focusing on? What are the specific goals? And I give you so many props because I could see that you were struggling to be there,
Yeah.
but you stuck with it, which I think is like amazing for people to do because to stick with something that you're like, this really sucks and I hate this,
Hmm.
but I'm here, I'm trusting the process.
Yeah.
That was my perspective. So you tell me your perspective.
I, in hindsight, feel like I was a toddler and that you had to parent me through that meeting. That's how it felt in my perspective. And truly, I wanted out of this seat more than I want to be anywhere but there. And I have no idea why it brought up so much resistance, but I think it was like I was having to make my brain work in a way that it wasn't used to. So it was very uncomfortable in that way. I had a lot of stories about like, well, I'm so busy. I should be working on this and I should be working on this. So that was very eye opening that came up as strong as it did. I think I also had some stories around I've done stuff like this and it hasn't worked, but it really was nothing like your process. Like, so it was hard. And Sarah and the other women, people, I'll say people, I think it was all women, but the other people on the call were so supportive and just helped me work through every bit. And I think I felt safe enough to say when I was having a hard time so that you guys just kind of worked me through piece by piece. And so I think that spoke to like, it was a safe community to do that in too. And that was really great.
Yeah. That's honestly one of my favorite things. And I don't know how it happened, but I feel like we have we do have a safe
Yeah.
place. I think that the women who have been around for a while, like you get to know each other,
Yeah.
you get to know your businesses. Some of them have accountability groups. They like chat with each other, and I love it. I'm obsessed with it. I think it's
Hmm.
amazing. And as an introvert, I don't know how I did that, but we did.
Yeah.
So what's funny is you said I've done stuff like this before and it never worked. I had somebody else, another client, tell me that literally the other day, word for word
Yeah.
almost. And what is it that you think is different?
The three things that come to mind. One, and this is funny to say because as a bookkeeper and a financial person, I'm in my numbers a lot. I know a lot of my numbers, but I don't think I'd ever quite made my numbers as connected to my goals as we did in your process. So I always call it when I talk to other people, I said, she like finds a way to make the numbers real, but it's so much different than like, I think it's the forward looking beyond just kind of a projected cash flow or some spreadsheet. You're truly connecting them in to your dreams, your vision, where you want to go, and you're connecting them all the way through to the task that you're doing when we finish the process. So that is done in a way that I don't think anybody does it better than what Sarah does in her group. So that's number one. It's true.
If
Um,
you're watching the video, I just did a hair flip if you're not watching the video.
the second, as you should, the last one I do remember, and I'll see if the other one comes to me, is the fact that we do get it down to kind of a task level. Like you don't necessarily finish every single little piece of it in our time together, but you're past all the resistance parts so that the last piece is just basically admin. And so we get it to a level that's truly actionable, that like you just have to go and do the things. And because we created the harder part together and all the parts you resisted to, you're there. You're like 90% of the way there. So I think that's a piece of it. And then I do like kind of your calendaring process that's more of I'll call it more of the admin side, but I think it's a smart way of like really looking at what life's like for the next quarter and working through those pieces. So I think that's a lot of it. And I guess with the getting the numbers real, like there's a little space. Like what I love about Sarah, and I think I have in my world too, is it's a lot of practical. Like it's definitely founded in that financial side, but we leave room for kind of the mindset and the word I'll use is a little bit of magic. Like you allow that
Mm.
space to like dream and vision and do those pieces along with your goals. And I think that's what makes it more exciting once you get past the resistance and you're not
Yeah.
trying to hop out of your seat.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said that because I have done a lot of planning stuff, but
Mhm.
it's usually with people who are a bit more business coach
Right.
focused and aren't I would say they're not that they're bad at money, but they're not experts at money stuff, which I feel like you and I are obviously in that space. And I do think it's important because I see people poo pooing the idea of like setting goals because they just want to manifest the biggest numbers they possibly can. And I'm like, no, we have to like find this balance between the energetic and
Yeah.
mindset stuff and like the big vision, but then bring that down into like, okay, but what do I need to pay the
Yeah.
bills? Right. Because the energy is
Without
not
losing the
always gonna,
magic though. Like it's
right.
like a paradigm, I think, like that is hard to live in. And I think that process you have creates this space where you can kind of live in that and kind of be both founded in reality while leaving room for what I'm calling the magic or the manifestation or the calling in. Like it
Hmm.
feels grounded but limitless.
So the one of the biggest things I remember was that I think it must have been in the calendaring part. So that's like the very last part. And the first one, the way that I like to do calendaring for everyone listening is we pull up the calendar for the quarter and I have learned that we have to map out the time off, like put in client meeting days. Like most of us aren't going to be able to do much else when you have a day of client meetings to be real, and then see how much time you have, like layer in the marketing activities you need to do, and then you ask yourself, okay, like how much time for projects do I have? And then inevitably we've just come off of like mapping out the goals of like here's the next things I want to focus on. I would say it takes a few quarters probably to get really good at identifying like these are the goals that are reasonable for me to achieve in the next 90 days. And I remember the first one with you, you were like, I want all of this done tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Can you just like talk to me a little bit about,
Yeah.
you know, that and like how did you shift from I want all of this now, and the I think a lot of the resistance that you had was realizing like there's no possible way for me to have all of this done right now,
Mm-hmm.
but I want it all done,
Yep.
into like now, I mean, I would say you're kind of a pro at it now.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I feel a lot better about it. I still let's say there's times where like so there's a few ways this shows up for me. First of all, I want all the goals. I was really resistant to limiting it to, a reasonable number. And when I would put them on a calendar, I wanted them all in like the next 3 weeks. And it didn't matter. I had 12 weeks to work with. I like everything was now. And I say this, but it's becoming untrue. But I felt like I could see where I'm sitting today and I could see where I want to be, but I couldn't see the steps in between. And I do think there's a truth to, like, I talk with my husband who thinks like a system, he thinks like a process, and he just sees every single step that has to be done. And it like is not overwhelming to him to see it in that way. He's like an integrator, as people like they say, and I'm more of a visionary. I'm letting go. I've let go of that story to some degree because I I don't always know every single piece, but I know like how to get us started and I know the parts that are important for me. And so I'm picking apart that a little bit more, um, and still creating actionable steps that I can take. And so I think I've just gotten better at saying, okay, here's the goal. This is what's reasonable this quarter. Even to some degree, like letting go of the attachment that it's all done in the quarter, um, that alone, even though I'm saying I want to get all the things done, like letting go of that attachment just created more freedom around it. So I truly can put things
Mm-hmm.
in there that feel good and like they're moving the needle forward without any of that energy and story around them. So I would say 75 to 80% of those projects I put in get done in that quarter. And that feels really great. And I think that's a big part of what has continued to move the needle forward for us. We're not, before I would probably get 10% of what I wanted to get done. because I didn't have this process to get organized. And, I
Yeah.
would move forward, would have to get moved forward, but I didn't get moved forward any of the want to or any of the nice to haves. And so now we're going to put some of those in, and it's really making a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like putting fires out all the time
Right.
is I remember too, like when we started and you talked to me about your calendar, you're like, I've got client meetings basically every
Yeah.
single day of the week, and I don't know when I'm going to have time for any of
Yeah.
these things. Yeah, I mean, I think that's why people get stuck is that process of I want to do a million things and I don't know how to prioritize them, and they work on the things that feel sexy or feel exciting, which may not be the real
Right.
things that you need to do for the health of your business,
Yep.
right? What I think, so you said you could see where you are now and you could see where you wanted to be, but like the connection was harder to see. I think that the shift that I perceive, and again, tell me if I'm wrong, I think it's that you're enjoying the process more,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, I like that.
I feel like
Yeah.
it's like learning to enjoy, like, it's not having this mindset of I can see where I'm at now and I don't like it, and I can see where I want to go. And when I get there, I'm finally going to be
Yeah.
have the life that I want and I'm going to feel the way I want. I feel like the shift is like learning to enjoy
Yeah.
along the way, which is really what life is all about,
Right.
right?
Yeah. I can get behind that. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't think I thought of it in that way before, but that feels true. Yeah.
It just came to me
Yeah.
as you were talking.
Yeah.
It's a download.
But there's one, can I share
I've
one
lost.
story about that happened that
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
so obviously all the pieces with like implementing the offer, all those things were part of like, that was a big part of why I signed up for original program. And so those were happening. But some of like the other things that I didn't know when we started that would come about came out of it. And one of them is my newsletter. And that felt like an impossible, you should be doing this type task for 5, 6 years in my business. And it was the quarterly planning that helped me kind of project that down, bring in people that I needed to help me with it. And now it's a systemized process. Like, I have somebody that helps me with some of the writing, and we still might be doing it a few days before we really want to get it out. It'd be nice to front load that more, but it's been so good and so fulfilling. And it's gotten a great response from people. People are really connecting to it, and it feels like an important part of creating community in my business that I didn't think was possible. I think I thought of it as like a marketing task, and it's really a
mm-hmm.
connection vehicle. It's a way to connect with people that I didn't realize how much I wanted it. So that totally came out of this process. I'd still have my old mailing list in MailChimp, doing nothing with it, paying them every month if we didn't do this planning process and get that through. And it's been a change in my business and how I'm talking to people, and how we differentiate ourselves and things. So I'm probably as grateful for that as I am for the revenue pieces that have increased, because it's been such a great tool and such a fun, fulfilling part of my business that I didn't realize I
Yeah.
needed. Yeah.
Well, I know one of your things is you enjoy
Yeah.
creativity, right? Like you do artsy type stuff for fun,
Yeah.
which is obviously not me, but like everybody is
Yeah.
different, right? And so I think for you to be able to bring some of that in,
Yeah.
and I've done the same thing as you where I'm like, well, I need to separate out like this financial type business from the thing that I would say is my zone of genius, because that's what quote unquote should be done. And so I think same for you. I've seen you kind of have similar struggles where you need to bring in more of like
Right.
your stuff yourself into the
Yeah.
business, because even though clients will come in and they'll probably work with one of your team members, right? They'll still see you on in your calls and whatnot, but I think it's important to bring in like the humanity, the human side.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. Yeah.
tell me, I guess now, where are you sitting today? You've managed to bring on some like really amazing team members. I know you have one starting next month,
Mm-hmm.
and just sort of maybe some of like tangible changes or energetic changes. Like how are you
Mm-hmm.
different sitting here a little over a year later?
From a tangible perspective, we have increased our revenue. I think it was 39% when I just looked at it last month. So that was a huge piece, while doing it
Snaps.
in a way that is more streamlined, easier to offer, improving kind of our flow of our work, including improving our workflow. So that's been huge. We have brought on that help that started in January, and that's been a game changer. And we're still kind of seeing that because she was my original partner in the business, and we have very similar experience. So it felt like cloning myself in some ways, when it came to the bookkeeping side. So that's been incredible. And I think it's helped the rest of the team too. I know it has. It almost instantly, with her coming in, it opened up kind of what we could bring on, what we could create. And so our growth has been even faster this year since that happening. And I think that will happen again when our next person joins us in June. So I think, like, with what we did, when I feel like I had the whole business was on my shoulders and was like weighting me down, and we were still kind of, and I had team helping me, but it was a lot of weight on all of us. And like that feels like it's redistributed, and like we're poised for just ability to grow. Like I feel like the fact that we had that much growth, given that we were still in it in a lot of the harder parts of it for most of that year, I think is pretty phenomenal. And I know that we can create so much more with me being freed up and people in the right seats and doing what they really love, and all those pieces are coming together. So I feel like I've moved into the CEO seat so much more than where I was. And people always talked about that, and I talked about it too, but it was like I couldn't understand it because of the so much weight, because of the weight, and to be able to like sit in that and have the space and kind of work through that. Well, I'm not 100% there. I'm like so much further along than I would have been. And so now it's like, okay, now what can we create? Because I'm there and I'm able to do that.
Mhm.
Um, and that's huge. And I think that then means that everybody on the team can grow so much more, and we can help so many more people. And I think it means a lot more for resources for our clients and what we're able to give them and the difference we're able to make in their business. So I feel like we're really well poised for continuing to grow in that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I do think, thinking back, I saw that a lot of it was on your shoulders, and it's not that you didn't have a team, it's just your team was more in the day-to-day, like in the weeds of stuff, but you still were the bottleneck in
Yeah.
terms of like reviewing and answering client questions. And I remember you said like your clients, you would be the primary point of contact if something was blowing up, like the clients would reach out to
Yeah.
you and you would drop whatever you're doing. Like, not that you shouldn't do those things, but it really
It
like
didn't
in
have to
if you
be.
do that all day every
Yeah.
day, right, it didn't have to be you.
Yeah.
And so being able to hire more higher level team members who can
Mm-hmm.
really like free up that workload from you so that you can go be the visionary
Yeah.
and then they can integrate, I think is absolutely an amazing change.
Yeah. Me too.
Before we wrap it up, do you have any words of wisdom that you think everyone should know about anything? Business wise, money wise, like what are some of the things that you love to tell your clients? Like tell me some of your words of wisdom that you want everybody to know.
How much time do we
Big
have on
question, I
here?
know. And I didn't prep you for
No.
this, so
No. Um, it was funny because like you brought up the art and the creativity thing, and there's going to be a lot more of that this year. That's one of the areas we're going into, and I have much more to expand on there, and I won't do it on this call. But like when I was sharing that today with some colleagues, the premise there, they're like, "Why is that so important to you? Like bringing in this like visual communication and things." And I think for my ideal people, this is not the favorite part of their business for sure. That's why I'm here for them, but they can't just outsource it all. Like you can't just outsource your authority, outsource everything in your finances in your business to experts for many reasons. One, if you don't have somebody you can trust, that can be very dangerous. I don't like to go there too much, but mostly it's for your own empowerment, and it's you get to make all these decisions. You don't want to outsource your authority when it comes to that. And so when I add these creativity type pieces, like I have an income tracker. A lot of my people don't want to go into a spreadsheet and track it. I have one they can color in, and they can and write on it with fun markers. And I use it myself every single month. And it makes money fun. It makes that part of your business a place where you can add a little self care or a little mindfulness or a little just color and make it more approachable. And so I think that's a big part of it for me is like, you don't have to always, there's some things you have to do, like quarterly planning, even when you don't want to, but you can make it more enjoyable. You can find somebody that supports you through it and makes it more fun and brings in the right pieces. You can find a method for yourself that works better. I think the same thing is true for your finances. Like there are some pieces that are not going to feel fun and you might have to force yourself to do it, but add a little color and add a little of your personality into it, and I think you'll find it much easier to overcome that and feel like you're empowered in that part of your business. And I think it's critical. Yeah.
So you can do business in the way that you want to do it, right? And bring in more elements of fun and don't fit in the
Right.
box that everybody else says you have to fit in,
Yeah.
right? Which I think is wonderful. One, I think it speaks to, you use the word magic. I think that really speaks to that. It's like if we work in an industry that there's a lot of other people doing similar things to we do, like how do we differentiate ourselves? And I think it's stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We're really honing in on like your ideal client is going to resonate with stuff like that, and that's why they come to you, right? And versus me, like we do not have income trackers that you can color, nor will we ever. Right? But my ideal client has different
Yeah.
goals and different desires and different ways that they work best,
Yeah.
and I think that both can be successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't have to be one or the other. Like you can really design a business, I think, that works well and serves your clients well and also doesn't make you have to work a million hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're a great example of doing that. So I'm really proud of all the things that you've done, and I can't wait to see all the stuff that comes, especially when your next hire comes in and that levels up the
Yeah.
marketing front. I think that's going to be
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think that's it for today. We will drop Kelly's information if you want to get on her newsletter. We'll make sure her links are in the description under this. You can connect with her, especially if you are the creative type and you would love to have some more like fun, mindful, magical things layered into your bookkeeping. Go talk to Kelly. All right.
Thank you.
So that was it for this week, y'all. Thanks for being here, Kelly.
Thank you. That was fun.